What if one of the most overlooked secrets to aging well wasn't a supplement, a stretch, or a daily walk, but a private act you stopped doing long ago? What if the quiet disappearance of masturbation after 60 wasn't harmless, but silently affecting your body, your confidence, and even your sleep? And what if reconnecting with your own pleasure wasn't about lust, but about honoring life, health, and dignity in your golden years? Have you ever truly wondered what happens to your body, your mind, and even your spirit when you stop engaging in one of life's most natural, personal, and powerful expressions, masturbation, as you age? For many seniors, the act slowly fades away, not from lack of need, but because of the world they grew up in. A world where sexual expression, especially when done alone, was met with shame, discomfort, or silence. So, over time, it gets pushed aside. First by changing hormones, then by health issues, then simply forgotten. But here's the truth that few doctors ever say out loud. Losing that connection with yourself isn't just about libido. It affects your entire well-being. This isn't about lust. It's about life. About circulation, hormones, sleep, emotional grounding, and even self-worth. It's about preserving not just function, but the quiet joy of feeling whole. Before we dive deeper, if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to hit that button and turn on the bell. That way, you won't miss another health insight made just for you. And if you're still with me, type a 1 in the comments to let me know you're here. If this isn't what you expected, type 0 so I can keep improving these messages for you. Let's begin with the first truth. 1. The body responds to what it no longer receives. As we age, it's easy to think everything slows down simply because of the years. But the truth is, much of what declines in the body declines because it's no longer being used. Muscles shrink when we stop exercising. Joints stiffen without movement. And your sexual organs? They're no different. When masturbation disappears from your life, so does vital blood flow to the pelvic region. This drop in circulation leads to a ripple effect. Reduced sensitivity, discomfort, and for many men, an increased risk of prostate issues. The tissues that once responded with ease begin to change, becoming thinner, tighter, or even painful. Women, it can mean dryness, irritation, or a growing sense of detachment from the body itself. And what shocks many is how quickly these changes come. Just a few months without stimulation, and your body starts to forget what it once knew so well. Unlike youth, where function bounces back quickly, aging requires maintenance. Gentle, consistent care. That's why regular masturbation, even once or twice a week, can help maintain tissue elasticity, preserve nerve response, and protect long-term pelvic health. It's not about forcing desire or chasing youth. It's about honoring your body's design. About treating this part of yourself with the same respect you give to brushing your teeth, taking your vitamins, or going for a walk. Neglect leads to decline. And when it comes to sexual health, decline often leads to discomfort you could have easily prevented. But physical function is only half the story. What happens emotionally when you no longer feel connected to your own pleasure? That is where things get even more personal and even more powerful. Let's talk about it next. We just explored how the body begins to forget what it once knew when self-touch disappears. But physical change is only half the picture. The emotional and mental impact of disconnection can be even more profound and far more personal. 2. The emotional toll of disconnection. When older adults stop engaging in masturbation, it's not only their bodies that respond, it's their sense of identity, their relationship with themselves, and their emotional world. Over time, many seniors begin to feel strangely removed from their own physical selves. It's as if they're simply caretakers of a body, no longer truly inhabiting it. They dress it, feed it, bathe it, but do they still feel alive in it? That disconnection shows up subtly. Perhaps in how one stops caring about their appearance, or in the way confidence quietly fades. Some even begin to feel invisible, not just to others, but to themselves. Masturbation, while deeply personal, is also deeply affirming. It's a quiet reminder that your body still belongs to you, that you still have the right to feel, to choose, to experience joy that is entirely yours. For many, this simple act becomes a sacred form of emotional grounding. It rekindles agency and helps restore identity in a stage of life when many things feel like they're slipping away. Without this self-connection, loneliness deepens, anxiety simmers. Emotional flatness replaces once vibrant inner landscapes. Even interactions with others can shift, less warmth, less openness, less laughter. Because here's a truth most don't realize until it's already fading. When you disconnect from yourself intimately, you may begin to disconnect from the world around you. And this emotional distance doesn't stay locked inside. It extends outward, into the body, and into one very important gland that men rarely think about until problems arise. 3. Prostate health depends on activity. For older men, few organs are as quietly essential as the prostate. This small gland plays a central role in both sexual and urinary function, but is often ignored until discomfort sets in. What many men don't realize is that regular ejaculation, through masturbation or intimacy, is not only natural, but necessary. When ejaculation stops entirely, the prostate can begin to stagnate. Fluids build up. Pressure increases. Over time, this can lead to prostate congestion, a condition linked to pain, inflammation, and a higher risk of infection. Ejaculation helps clear these fluids, stimulate blood flow, and keep the gland responsive. It's like flushing out a filter, preventing buildup before it becomes a problem. Without this regular release, the risk of benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, increases. This can lead to more frequent urination, especially at night, and a reduced quality of life. Decades of medical observation support what nature has already shown. The body was designed for function, and that includes the prostate. So why wait for medication or surgery when a gentle, private practice can offer protection? This isn't about performance, it's about preservation, and it's a powerful way to care for a vital part of your body. But perhaps even more surprising is how this small, personal act influences something most people never associate with masturbation: your brain chemistry. 4. Hormonal balance and brain chemistry. One of the most overlooked benefits of masturbation after 60 is how it impacts your internal chemistry. Each time you stimulate your body and reach orgasm, the brain responds with a release of powerful hormones: dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, and prolactin. These are not just pleasure chemicals. They regulate mood, reduce anxiety, support deep sleep, and even strengthen immune response. In a stage of life where insomnia, sadness, or chronic stress is more common, these natural responses can make all the difference. Dopamine brings joy, motivation, and mental engagement. Oxytocin fosters calm, trust, and emotional connection, even when you're alone. Endorphins ease pain and uplift your mood. Prolactin supports cellular recovery and signals the brain it's time to rest, and all of that without pills, prescriptions, or appointments. Just the wisdom of your own biology, honored through a small act of self-care. When this hormonal cascade is absent, the effects may not be obvious at first, but over time, you may feel more emotionally flat, more anxious, less able to sleep, less focused, because masturbation isn't just about touch, it's about chemistry, about giving your mind and nervous system the nourishment they need to stay calm, alert, and resilient. And if the mind benefits from regular release, what about your spirit? What about your dignity? What happens to your sense of presence and inner peace when you no longer feel comfortable being with yourself? That's what we'll explore next. We've seen how self-connection shapes not only your body and brain, but also your emotional foundation. Now let's go even deeper into something more universal, something every human needs, whether we're partnered or not. 5. Touch is a basic human need, even when it comes from yourself. As we age, touch often becomes scarce. Children grow up, friends become distant, and romantic intimacy may fade or disappear. What was once a natural part of everyday life, hugs, caresses, gentle brushes, can become a rare experience. But here's what's often forgotten. Your body never stops needing to be touched, even by you. In fact, self-touch can become a form of care, of emotional nourishment. Masturbation, stripped of shame, becomes a way to reconnect with your body, not as something to be managed or maintained, but as a home to be cherished. Many older adults fall into routines, showering, dressing, taking pills, without ever truly acknowledging themselves physically. The result is a quiet detachment, a numbing, a growing sense of alienation from the very vessel that has carried them through decades of life. But through self-touch, that emotional wall begins to soften. You slow down, you listen, you feel, not out of obligation, but out of kindness. It becomes less about arousal and more about affirmation. I am still here. I still matter. I still belong to myself. This form of self-reconnection soothes loneliness and rebuilds confidence. It reminds you that you don't need to wait for someone else to validate your worth, that even in solitude, you are worthy of warmth and comfort. And that's especially important in a world where relationships evolve and sometimes fade away. 6. Intimacy doesn't end when partnerships do. As we grow older, love changes form. Some lose a spouse to time or illness. Others remain in long marriages where emotional distance quietly replaces connection. And many navigate aging entirely on their own. In those moments, it's easy to believe that intimacy has simply ended. But that belief is false. Intimacy is not limited to partnership. It doesn't disappear when another person leaves the room. It begins and continues with you. Masturbation offers a way to preserve your relationship with your inner world. It keeps you in tune with your desire, your softness, your capacity to feel connected even in solitude. This is not a replacement for partnership. It's a powerful form of independence. It says, my ability to feel pleasure didn't leave with someone else. It still lives within me. And that message becomes vital when closeness with others is absent or unavailable. It keeps loneliness at bay. It restores emotional equilibrium. It tells your heart and nervous system, you are still whole. You are still worthy. But even with all these benefits, many older adults still carry an invisible burden. A heaviness formed decades ago from a time when self-pleasure was treated as shameful. It's time to finally let that burden go. 7. The shame must be left behind. Many seniors were raised in a time when masturbation was never spoken of in public and barely acknowledged in private. If it was, it came with whispers, guilt, judgment, or fear. Those messages came from family, from religion, from society, and over time, they became beliefs. Silent, internalized truths that shaped how you felt about your own body. But here's the truth those voices never told you. That shame was never yours to carry. It was handed to you. And now, you have full permission to put it down. Masturbation is not dirty. It's not selfish. It's not something you outgrow. It is human, healthy, and deeply healing. Letting go of shame in your later years is not just liberating. It's transformative. You stop tiptoeing around yourself. You begin to walk with more dignity. You rest more peacefully. You live more openly. You no longer see your body as something to manage, but as something to cherish. What takes the place of shame? Peace, confidence, relief, and perhaps for the first time, a full-bodied sense of acceptance. Because when you understand that your body still deserves pleasure, care, and attention, you begin to treat yourself with gentleness and power. You no longer live under judgment. You live under freedom. And now that you've claimed that freedom, it's time to take the next step. Not just why self-touch matters, but how to do it in a way that supports your health, your comfort, and your peace of mind. Let's explore that together. Next. We've talked about why this connection matters. Now let's talk about how to approach it with care. Because when it comes to self-intimacy, especially in our later years, it's not about performance, it's about presence. 8. Practical tips for safe, healthy self-intimacy. For older adults, masturbation should be embraced with the same gentleness and respect as any other form of self-care. Just like stretching or mindful breathing, it's a practice that asks for patience, not pressure. Your body has changed over time, that's natural. What once brought pleasure decades ago might feel different now. That doesn't mean anything is wrong. It simply means your needs have evolved. And the goal today isn't to achieve a result. It's to experience connection. Start by choosing a quiet, private space where you feel safe and undisturbed. Allow yourself time. Time to breathe, to relax, to feel. There is no rush. This moment belongs to you. Using lubrication can be a game changer, especially if your skin has become drier or more sensitive. It reduces friction, enhances comfort, and allows you to focus on sensation without distraction. Explore different types, water-based, silicone, organic, until you find one that suits your needs. For men, take your time with stimulation. There is no need to aim for climax. Presence is the goal. For women, gentle touch, especially around sensitive areas, can reignite sensations that may have felt forgotten. Pay attention to how your body responds, before, during, and after. Do you feel more relaxed, more grounded, more at peace? These are signs that your practice is working. Not just physically, but emotionally too. Self-intimacy is not something to feel awkward or guilty about. It is a quiet act of strength. A reminder that even now you still deserve care. And like any health practice, consistency matters more than intensity. A gentle, regular connection with yourself supports circulation, lifts mood, improves sleep, and most importantly, restores a sense of agency. But what happens if this part of your life is ignored completely? The long-term effects can be deeper than most people realize. That's why this final message may be the most important of all. Final word, the most personal act of self-care. At this stage of life, with its reflections, its clarity, and its lessons, you've likely come to understand something vital. Aging is not about giving up. It's about returning. Returning to the truth of who you are. Returning to what matters. Returning to yourself. Many older adults still carry the quiet belief that masturbation no longer has a place in this chapter. That it's something shameful, embarrassing, or simply irrelevant. But what if the opposite were true? What if now, right now, is the most important time to reconnect with your body? Not for performance, not for anyone else, but for healing, for peace, for your own presence. Because your body, though it may look or feel different than it did in your youth, still belongs to you. It still responds to kindness. It still needs care. It still listens when you touch it with intention. And in those quiet moments, when the world fades and your hand meets your skin, not out of habit, but out of gentleness, you are saying something sacred. I am still here. I still matter. I still belong to me. Masturbation, at this stage, is not shameful. It is sacred. It maintains circulation, supports prostate and pelvic health, regulates mood, balances hormones, eases loneliness, improves sleep, and perhaps most beautifully, it brings you back to yourself. Even in solitude, you can feel connected. You can feel whole. You can feel alive. If no one ever told you this before, hear it now. You do not need permission to touch your own heart. You do not need to apologize for being human. You do not need to carry shame that was never yours to begin with. You deserve peace. You deserve to rest without emptiness. You deserve to look in the mirror and see someone worth loving, worth touching, worth being. The world often overlooks the quiet rituals, the still, tender moments when we choose to be with ourselves. But those moments, they are powerful. They are healing. They are yours. So as you move forward, carry this truth gently. Masturbation in later life isn't something to hide from. It's your right. It's your joy. It's your declaration that you are still living, fully, deeply, and unapologetically. Your journey is not over. Your body is still listening. And every time you choose to honor it, with care, with presence, with love, you are choosing to live on your own terms. And that, dear listener, is the most dignified act of all. If this message touched something within you, I'd love to hear it. Share one thing you've learned, and one thing you plan to apply. Let's build a space of honesty, healing, and self-acceptance together. And if you found value in this video, please comment 1 below. If not, type 0, so we can continue to improve. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wise Elders Legacy for more content that honors your story, your truth, and your power. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.